Happy Thursday, first grade. I'm Miss Coates. I'm Mrs. Hill's student teacher. Today we are going to be reading Chrysanthemum. It is written by Kevin Hinkies. And today our learning target is I can ask and answer questions about key details in a text. So that's like picking out your favorite parts and just really focusing on key details within the text, okay? All right, so let's jump right in and get started reading. The day she was born was the happiest day in her parents' lives. She's perfect, said her mother. Absolutely, said her father. And she was. She was absolutely perfect. That's the same way your families felt about you when you were born. Her name must be everything she is, said her mother. Her name must be absolutely perfect, said her father. And it was. Chrysanthemum. Her parents named her Chrysanthemum. Chrysanthemum grew and grew and grew. And when she was old enough to appreciate it, Chrysanthemum loved her name. She loved the way it sounded when her mother woke her up. She loved the way it sounded when her father called her for dinner. And she loved the way it sounded when she whispered it to herself in the bathroom mirror. Chrysanthemum, chrysanthemum, chrysanthemum. Chrysanthemum loved the way her name looked when it was written with ink on an envelope. She loved the way it looked when it was written with icing on her birthday cake. And she loved the way it looked when she wrote it herself with her fat orange crayon. So she chose an orange crayon. I wonder if that was her favorite color. What do you guys think? Chrysanthemum, chrysanthemum, chrysanthemum. Chrysanthemum thought her name was absolutely perfect, and then she started school. On the first day, Chrysanthemum wore her sunniest dress and her brightest smile. She ran all the way. Hooray, said Chrysanthemum. School! I want you to think about it. Is that how you guys felt on the first day of school? So excited. You might have had a few mixed emotions. You might have been a little nervous and have the jitters, but you were probably also super excited. I know I was excited to see you guys. But when Mrs. Chudd took roll call, everyone giggled upon hearing Chrysanthemum's name. That makes me very sad. It's so long, said Joe. It scarcely fits on your name tag, said Rita, pointing. I'm named after my grandmother, said Victoria. You're named after a flower. Chrysanthemum wilted. She did not think her name was absolutely perfect. She thought it was absolutely dreadful. That word dreadful. Do you think that means happy? Or do you think that means just terrible? Yeah, it means terrible. She thought it was a terrible name now. She did think it was happy. Now she thought it was terrible. So she changed. The rest of the day was not much better. During nap time, Victoria raised her hand and informed Mrs. Chudd that Chrysanthemum's name was spelled with 13 letters. That's exactly half as many letters as there are in the entire alphabet, Victoria explained. Thank you for sharing that with us, Victoria, said Mrs. Chudd. Now put your head down. If I had a name like yours, I'd change it, Victoria said as the students lined up to go home. I wish I could, thought Chrysanthemum miserably. Welcome home, said her mother. Welcome home, said her father. School is no place for me, said Chrysanthemum. My name is too long. It scarcely fits on my name tag. And I'm named after a flower. Okay, I want you to stop and think. Have you ever heard of anyone else with the name of a flower or named after a flower? I have heard of the name Rose, and that's named after a flower. Maybe Daisy? Those are all really cool flower names too. Oh, pish, said her mother. Your name is beautiful and precious and priceless and fascinating and winsome, said her father. It's everything you are, said her mother. Absolutely perfect, said her father. Chrysanthemum felt much better after her favorite dinner, macaroni and cheese with ketchup. With ketchup? I haven't tried that, but it might be good. And an evening filled with hugs and kisses and parcheesi. That night, Chrysanthemum dreamed that her name was Jane. It was an extremely pleasant dream. The next morning, Chrysanthemum wore her most comfortable jumper. She walked to school as slowly as she could. She dragged her feet in the dirt. Chrysanthemum, 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 she wrote. She even looks like a flower, said Victoria, as Chrysanthemum entered the playground. Let's pick her, said Rita, pointing. Let's smell her, said Joe. Chrysanthemum wilted. She did not think her name was absolutely perfect. She thought it was absolutely dreadful. So were these classmates being very kind or very nice to Chrysanthemum? No, they weren't. They were making fun of her, and nobody should be making fun of anyone. The rest of the day was not much better. During nap time, Victoria raised her hand and said, "A chrysanthemum is a flower. It lives in a garden with worms and other dirty things." "Thank you for sharing that with us, Victoria," said Mrs. Chudd. "Now put your head down." "I just cannot believe your name," Victoria said as the students lined up to go home. "Neither can I," thought Chrysanthemum miserably. "Welcome home," said her mother. "Welcome home," said her father. "School is no place for me," said Chrysanthemum. "They said I even look like a flower. They pretended to pick me and smell me." "Oh, pish," said her mother. "They're just jealous and envious and begrudging and discontented and jaundiced," said her father. "Who wouldn't be jealous of a name like yours?" said her mother. "After all, it's absolutely perfect," said her father. So Chrysanthemum's parents loved her name, and they thought it was special because they chose it for her, right? Just like your parents chose your name. Chrysanthemum felt a trifle better after her favorite dessert, chocolate cake with buttercream frosting, and another evening filled with hugs and kisses and parcheesi. That night, Chrysanthemum dreamed that she really was a chrysanthemum. She sprouted leaves and petals, which we know that leaves and petals are all found on flowers, correct? Good. Victoria picked her and plucked the leaves and petals one by one until there was nothing left but a scrawny stem. It was the worst nightmare of Chrysanthemum's life. Chrysanthemum wore her outfit with 7 pockets the next morning. She loaded the pockets with her most prized possessions and her good luck charms. Chrysanthemum took the longest route possible to school. I wonder why she was taking the longest route possible. What do you guys think? What are you thinking? Yeah, because she was dreading going to school, so she was trying to save some time so that she wouldn't get there, right? She didn't want to be at school where everybody was making fun of her. She stopped and stared at each and every flower. Chrysanthemum, 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 the flowers seemed to say. See her with her umbrella, the rain. She doesn't look very happy, does she? That morning, the students were introduced to Mrs. Twinkle, the music teacher. Her voice was like something out of a dream, as was everything else about her. So does that mean she was a super awesome person? Yeah. The students were just speechless. They thought Mrs. Twinkle was an indescribable wonder. They went out of their way to make a nice impression. See Mrs. Twinkle? Mrs. Twinkle led the students in scales. Then she assigned roles for the class musical. Victoria was chosen as the dainty fairy queen. Rita was chosen as the spiffy butterfly princess. Jo was chosen as the all-important pixie messenger. And Chrysanthemum was chosen as a daisy. So as we said before, a daisy is another type of flower. Chrysanthemum's a daisy! Chrysanthemum's a daisy! Jo, Rita, and Victoria chanted, thinking it was wildly funny. Chrysanthemum wilted. So, at this moment, did Chrysanthemum think it was very funny? No, she didn't. It just made her feel worse. She did not think her name was absolutely perfect. She thought it was absolutely dreadful. What's so humorous? Asked Mrs. Twinkle. Chrysanthemum was the answer. Her name is so long, said Jo. It scarcely fits on her name tag, said Rita, pointing. I'm named after my grandmother, said Victoria. She's named after a flower. My name is long, said Mrs. Twinkle. It is? Said Jo. My name would scarcely fit on a name tag, said Mrs. Twinkle. It would? Said Rita, pointing. And, said Mrs. Twinkle, I'm named after a flower too. You are? Said Victoria. Yes, said Mrs. Twinkle. My name is Delphinium. Delphinium Twinkle. And if my baby is a girl, I'm considering Chrysanthemum as a name. I think it's absolutely perfect. So I want you to think, how do you think the other classmates were feeling now? Do you think that they were feeling good about how they had been making fun of Chrysanthemum? Or do you think they were feeling really little? Yeah, they were probably feeling a lot smaller now and a little bit embarrassed, right, for making fun. They were probably feeling bad. Chrysanthemum could scarcely believe her ears. She blushed, she beamed, she bloomed. Chrysanthemum, chrysanthemum, chrysanthemum. So now Chrysanthemum's feeling better about herself, right? Because of Mrs. Twinkle. Jo, Rita, and Victoria looked at Chrysanthemum's longingly. Call me Marigold, said Jo. I'm Carnation, said Rita, pointing. My name is Lily of the Valley, said Victoria. So what are they all naming their names now? What are they calling themselves after? A flower, exactly. So that inspired, Chrysanthemum's name inspired them to want to change their names too. Chrysanthemum did not think her name was absolutely perfect. She knew it. So Chrysanthemum was confident, right? And so Mrs. Twinkle helped her gain that confidence. And then everybody else wanted flower names too. Okay. So, again, back to our learning target. We are doing I can ask and answer questions about key details in a text. And so, to achieve our learning target, we're going to work on this sheet today. It's my favorite part of the story. You guys have done a few other picking out your favorite parts of stories this week. So what you're going to be doing is there's a spot that says title, and you're going to put Chrysanthemum, the title of the book. Then where you see this cloud, you are going to illustrate your favorite part of the story. So inside the cloud, you're illustrating your favorite part of the story. Then where you see the lines, you're going to write about your favorite part of the story in a sentence, okay? Remember your punctuation and capitalization. All right, guys, have a great rest of your day.